Do miracles really happen or do they not? Some would say in responding to such a question that it depends on a person's understanding of miracles, as well as depending on an individual's cultural, religious, and the background of that person. Timothy Keller, in his book, The Reason for God, states this: "We are surrounded by many miracles of life, and yet we fail to recognize them. If there is a Creator God, there is nothing illogical at all about the possibility of miracles. After all, it would be hardly a problem for Him to rearrange things when and if He chooses." Another has said, "The whole of life is a large theater of daily manifestations of miracles." No wonder C.S. Lewis declared this: "Miracles are a retelling in small letters of the very same story which is written across the whole world in letters too large for some of us to see." Then he concluded by saying Jesus only fast-forwarded by way of a miraculous process of water and the elements of weather and care, giving us grapes from which we could make wine. I have picked at least 4 responses to the question, do miracles happen? And those 4 are these: yes, no, I don't know, and silence. You may have heard how Einstein answered the question about do miracles happen. He said there are only 2 ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Well, personally, I believe in miracles. At the same time, just maybe, you do not. If so, consider this biblical story from the Bible in Exodus 12 that tells of Moses and the children of Israel leaving the bondage of Egypt after 430 years of being held as slaves to the Egyptians. In Exodus chapter 7, verse 7, it tells us that Moses was 80 years old and Aaron, his brother, was 83 when they and the Israelites were freed to leave. The Bible also tells us that God had instructed Moses to take 2 to 3 million people out of Egypt and to a land that he had promised more than 700 years earlier. Moses had more than one reason to believe he was unfit for the job. Too old, extremely shy, no one would listen to him because he stuttered. And even if he were to organize the people, and even if Pharaoh allowed them to leave, how would he be able to lead and care for 2 to 3 million people in the desert? Think about it logically. Even with God, could it be possible that God could pull off such a miracle? Yet despite these enormous obstacles, Moses simply submitted and obeyed to the best of his ability, and God did the rest. As Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, they faced the long crossing of the hot desert, to say nothing of the food and water that would be required to feed those 2 to 3 million hungry mouths. Perhaps you as well are in need of a miracle in your life. Maybe it's large or small or medium. Or you simply just need a miracle today of any size. Is it possible to believe for that? Well, back to Moses and our story. According to a quartermaster general of the U.S. Army, he calculated Moses would have needed 1,500 tons of food each day. To bring that much food would require 2 freight trains, each train being a mile long. To have firewood for cooking would take 4,000 tons of wood and a few more freight trains, each a mile long, just for one day. And they were 40 years in transit. And then they would have to have water, and if they only had enough to drink, cook, and wash a few dishes, it would take 11 million gallons each day. And a freight train with tank cars 3 miles long just to bring water. Then they had to get across the Red Sea in one night. If they went on a narrow path, double file, the line would be 800 miles long and would require 35 days and nights to get through. Besides all the people, there were a large number of livestock. Therefore, they had to be in the space in the Red Sea 3 miles wide so they could walk 5,000 abreast to get across in one night. Then there is another problem. Each time they camped, at the end of the day, a campground 2/3 the size of Rhode Island was required. A total of 750 square miles, just for nightly camping. Do you think Moses figured all this out before he left Egypt? I think not. You see, Moses believed in God, and God took care of the little things for him and the Israelites. Now, do you still think God has any problem taking care of whatever miracle you have need of today? This is Dale, and I bring you greetings from CRA Ministries International, Goodyear, Arizona.